The train sliced through the stormy night, its name, Night Owl, feeling more like a silent predator than a passenger vessel. Inside, flickering yellow lights cast restless shadows, and the air was thick with damp wool, old coffee, and a metallic tang. Each passenger was an island, bound together only by the rattling steel and the hypnotic clatter of the rails. The world outside was a blur of black and rain, the carriage a lonely universe adrift in darkness. Tonight, the train felt less like a journey and more like a passage into the unknown. 10 passengers, 10 stories, each lost in their own world beneath the harsh fluorescent lights. A silent young couple, a weary businessman, an elderly knitter, a student with headphones, a sleeping worker, a tense reader, a window gazer, and a man in a trench coat. They were strangers, united only by the late hour and the storm outside. The train swayed, lights flickered, and for a heartbeat, darkness swallowed them whole. When the lights returned, everyone was accounted for, or so it seemed. The sense of isolation was palpable, but something else lingered, just out of sight. Arthur, the conductor, moved down the aisle, tablet in hand, performing his nightly ritual. He counted. The couple, the businessman, the knitter, the student, the worker, the reader, the window gazer, the trench coat, the backpacker, 10. But the manifest on his tablet read 11. He counted again, slower, his heart pounding, still 10. The log insisted, 11. Arthur checked every seat, every shadow, even the bathroom, nothing. The cold dread of old rail legends crept in. The machine said 11, but his eyes saw only 10. He trusted the machine. Something, or someone, was on board, unseen. The train's familiar routine had become a puzzle with a missing, invisible piece. Arthur retreated to his booth, desperate for answers. He reviewed the security footage, 10 passengers boarding, nothing amiss. But in the window's reflection, a face appeared beside the sleeping worker, gone when he checked the seat. Frame by frame, the figure flickered in every reflection. Glass, metal, dark screens, always present, never direct. The 11th passenger existed only in the world of reflections, invisible to the naked eye. Not a glitch, not a trick, something real, yet impossible. Arthur's skin crawled. The train felt like a cage. He was locked in with a presence that defied logic. The invisible passenger was watching them all. Arthur leaned in, his voice barely above a whisper, confiding in the man in the trench coat. He asked if he'd noticed anything strange, his words trembling with uncertainty. The train's gentle sway seemed to amplify his unease, as if the very motion of the carriage was conspiring to unsettle him. Shadows flickered across the walls, and every sound felt magnified in the tense silence. The man shook his head, but his eyes grew wary, darting to the corners of the carriage. He hesitated, as if weighing whether to trust Arthur or to retreat further into his own suspicions. The dim lighting cast deep lines across his face, making his expression unreadable. The quiet conversation didn't go unnoticed. A ripple of unease spread through the carriage, subtle at first, just a few nervous glances exchanged between passengers. But soon, the tension became contagious, infecting even those who had tried to keep to themselves. Paranoia bloomed in the confined space. Everyone watched everyone else, searching for signs of the unseen. The air felt thick, heavy with suspicion, as if the train itself was holding its breath. The man in the trench coat stood and walked the aisle, his eyes scanning faces and reflections in the windows. Each step seemed to echo, drawing attention and heightening the collective anxiety. He moved with purpose, but also with caution, as if expecting danger to leap from the shadows at any moment. The student, sensing the shift in atmosphere, removed his headphones, his music now an unwelcome intrusion. The elderly woman's knitting paused mid-stitch, her hands trembling slightly as she looked up, eyes wide with apprehension. Even the smallest gestures seemed loaded with meaning. The air crackled with suspicion. Every normal action, adjusting a coat, glancing at a phone, suddenly appeared sinister. The boundaries between friend and foe blurred, and trust evaporated in the charged atmosphere. The businessman, startled by his own reflection in the window, flinched and whispered to the reader about a face he thought he saw behind him. His voice was shaky, his eyes darting nervously, as if he feared the reflection might become real. Fear sharpened, and the carriage became a pressure cooker. The tension was palpable, pressing in from all sides, making every breath feel shallow and every heartbeat thunderous. The threat wasn't a person, but an absence, a space that should have been empty, yet seemed to pulse with menace. The vacant seat drew every eye, its emptiness more terrifying than any presence. The rhythmic clatter of the wheels became a countdown, each turn of the axle marking the passage of time and the deepening of dread. The sound, once comforting, now felt ominous, as if it were ticking down to some inevitable confrontation. The train was no longer just a means of travel, it had become a vessel for dread, carrying its passengers deeper into the unknown. Every mile brought them closer to something unseen, and the slow burn of paranoia threatened to consume them all. The strange events escalated, each moment more unsettling than the last. What began as a faint unease soon grew into a palpable tension that gripped every passenger. The train, once filled with the quiet hum of late-night travel, now seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next inexplicable occurrence. The reader's book flew from her hands, landing in the aisle as if swatted by an invisible force. Pages fluttered wildly, as if caught in a sudden gust, though the air was still. Gasps rippled through the carriage, and eyes darted nervously, searching for a logical explanation that never came. A child's laughter echoed from the empty back seats. There were no children on board. The sound was light and fleeting, yet it sent chills down every spine. Some passengers turned, half expecting to see a small figure, but only shadows greeted them. Whispers slithered through the carriage, mocking and playful, coming from the empty seat beside the sleeping worker. The words were unintelligible, but their tone was unmistakable, taunting, as if daring someone to respond. The sleeping commuter shifted uneasily, unaware of the invisible presence so close. The temperature dropped, breath fogged in the air. Frost crept along the windows, and passengers pulled their coats tighter, shivering as the cold seeped into their bones. The warmth of the carriage was replaced by an unnatural chill that seemed to emanate from nowhere and everywhere at once. The passengers huddled, eyes fixed on the vacant seat that now felt like the heart of their terror. Every creak of the train, every flicker of the lights, made them flinch. The seat, once just another place to rest, had become a focal point of dread, as if it held secrets no one wanted to uncover. The cold deepened, knitting needles stilled, and fear took hold. Even the smallest movement seemed risky, as if drawing attention from whatever unseen force lingered nearby. The silence was heavy, broken only by the occasional nervous whisper or the clatter of something dropped in fright. The invisible passenger was no longer content to hide. An indentation appeared on the empty seat, and nearby items shifted as if brushed by an unseen hand. The sense of a presence grew stronger, undeniable, and the air seemed to vibrate with anticipation. It was playing with them, turning their journey into a nightmare. Every glance over the shoulder, every fearful look exchanged, only fed the growing sense of helplessness. The boundaries between reality and the supernatural blurred, leaving everyone questioning what was real. The train became an icebox, haunted by a presence that refused to be ignored. Each passenger felt the weight of unseen eyes, and the journey that should have been routine was now a passage through fear itself, with no end in sight. Arthur asked the question aloud. Did anyone remember someone boarding who wasn't here now? Blank faces, foggy memories. No one could recall. The moment of boarding was a void in their minds. The man in the trench coat insisted it was impossible for 10 people to forget. It felt as if the memory had been erased, deliberately plucked away. The entity wasn't just haunting them, it was controlling their reality. Paranoia shifted to a deeper fear. Their minds had been breached. The 11th passenger had boarded not just the train, but their memories. The question was no longer who, but what, and what did it want? The train rattled on, 10 minds trapped with an invader they couldn't see or remember. The whispers returned, swirling through the carriage like a cold wind, until they gathered and formed a single sorrowful voice emanating from the empty seat. The air seemed to thicken, heavy with the weight of unspoken stories and memories left behind. "You don't remember me," it said, its tone both gentle and haunting. "I am the one who is forgotten, the presence that lingers when everyone else has gone. I am the echo in the silence, the shadow in the corner of your eye." The passengers listened, transfixed by the voice's ancient loneliness. Their fear was mingled with curiosity, as if they sensed the story behind the sorrow. Each person felt the chill of recognition, as if the voice spoke to a hidden part of themselves. "I ride the last train every night," the voice continued, echoing softly. "I am the ticket never used, the seat always empty, the journey that was planned but never begun. I am the silent witness to all the choices left unmade. I am the sum of all journeys never taken, the ghost of a choice. I am the hesitation at the platform, the step not taken, the life that could have been. Every night I wait, hoping someone will notice. Each of you almost didn't board tonight. I am made of those paths. I am the flicker of doubt before you stepped on, the alternate futures you left behind. I am the possibility that lingers in the air, just out of reach." As the voice spoke, a shimmering outline appeared in the seat, a human shape woven from light and shadow. It flickered uncertainly, as if struggling to hold itself together, yearning to be seen. "I just want to be seen," the voice pleaded, trembling with longing. "To be remembered, even for a moment. To know that my existence, however brief, mattered to someone." The cold intensified, seeping into the bones of every passenger. The figure flickered, its form growing faint, desperate for acknowledgement. The air was thick with the ache of longing, the need to be recognized. The entity was not malicious, only lonely, a phantom of regret, longing for recognition. It was the embodiment of every missed opportunity, every forgotten dream, every silent goodbye. The terror in the carriage shifted to pity. The passengers' hearts softened as they realized the truth behind the haunting. The passengers realized the haunting was not a threat, but a cry for connection from a being built of forgotten possibilities. A spirit longing to be remembered, if only for a fleeting moment, on the last train home. The city lights appeared. The train slowed. The shimmering figure faded, its voice a whisper. "You will forget. That is the price of your arrival." The cold receded. The spell broke. Passengers blinked, returning to themselves, memories of the night already slipping away. Arthur lingered, feeling a strange loss he couldn't explain. He glanced at the window. Just for a moment, another face looked back from his reflection. He blinked, and it was gone. Stepping onto the platform, the memory dissolved, but a cold knot remained. The night owl would run again, and the forgotten would ride with it, visible only in the reflections, waiting to be remembered. On the last train of the night, you are never truly alone.